Good morning. Welcome to Y&G Talks. I am Peyton Childs, the Youth and Government Governor. Youth and Government is a program where we debate bill topics or proposal topics, and you'll probably learn about all of that today. Today we are showing you our knowledge that we've learned from youth and government over the years by doing panels that are talking about anything from wage gap to the 504 panel, a lot of things that are happening in our society today, so you can see how much that we're learning from this program, and so that you can donate to us because we need a lot of money for the state fees and CODA fees and invitational fees that a lot of kids don't get the chance to go to because they just can't pay for it. So please watch this and see how great of a program this is, and please donate. The link is below our screen on YouTube. And this is our first panel, which is wage gap, and I would also like to give a big shout out to my mom, who it is her 48th birthday today, so wish her a big happy birthday. And this is our first panel, wage gap.
Hi, I'm Jack Shuck.
I'm Shane Clayton.
I'm Anna Barrier. I'm Alexandria Zarati. I'm Paris Walker.
And this is the wage gap panel. Do you guys believe that the wage gap is still a big problem in everyday life for many people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that it is because many companies are very sexist and think that men do better work. For example, construction workers, many construction companies hire men before women because they believe that the construction men are stronger and are more fit.
Also, how do you feel about this? Wage gap doesn't only happen with gender, it happens with races and sexuality and stuff. So how do you feel about the statistics for African Americans to Caucasians, which is nearly a 30% difference on average?
That's a big difference. I think that's wrong. I think that's just absolutely wrong, because even if the African American has a better education than the Caucasian, I know that they would choose the Caucasian instead of the African American, even if they had D's in high school.
And also, it's just a lot of this comes from old time parts when there was a lot of racism, and it just keeps moving on to in our generation. And it seems to be getting worse, because in 2015 it was I think 27%, and now it's a 30%, and it keeps raising and raising. So I think we need to do something quick before it gets super high. Do you think that everyone should be allowed to make money not dependent on race or sexuality?
Yes, because it's not really equal or fair for women nor different races.
Because if everyone just made the same money, there would be, the same money dependent on work, then there would be less homelessness and there would just be less overall racism. What are your opinions on the Equal Pay Act of 1963, which was aimed to abolish difference in salary based off of gender?
Well, it was aimed to, it didn't mean that it did. So obviously it didn't work, and they didn't really enforce it, because right now the businesses or companies are not really doing anything about this.
It seems like they pretty much just wrote down a law and then we're like, okay, we wrote this down, we don't have to enforce it. Do you think that we should add amendments to make it better, or just completely rewrite it? It seems like they pretty much just wrote down a law and then we're like, okay,
rewrite it instead of aiming.
Do you think that
we should put in enforcing this law, not aiming for it, because aiming is more of trying to shoot an arrow at a target. But if you shoot a gun at a target, it'll get there a lot quicker, and it has a higher probability of hitting its target dead in the center.
There was a study created by this woman named Claudia Golden, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and she supposedly disproved the wage gap, saying that women are making less money because they're choosing lower paying jobs or choosing to work less hours. Do you think that's true?
Well, it depends, basically, because some women do choose lower paying jobs, but a lot of them are trying to do the best they can for their family, and it's not really helping when they're giving them a lower payout.
Especially when the women are like divorced with kids, and they're trying to like raise her family, and like the father's not doing much about it, and so they're trying to get more money. So
yeah, and like you said, a high majority of the time in a divorced family, the mother will get the children, and if the mother is getting paid less, then not only will she have a worse life, but the children will also have worse life. Why do you think a high percentage of minorities have lower paying jobs than non-minorities?
Because most of the time, minorities, I'm not saying all the time, but some of the time, the minorities, let's say they're from Mexico, will come over maybe illegally. If not illegally, then they just come over. But if they're coming to America, most of the time that means that they were very poor or just poor in Mexico, and they probably did not have a great education and did not have an amazing life. So then they come here and they don't have any education, and they're living in a hovel.
Yeah, I feel like this is used because they think that because they're from another country, they're okay getting paid less, but it's just completely overused, and they think, like, I don't think that's okay at all. Just because they're from a different country means they should get paid less. What do you guys think on it?
I think you're right. Like, even if they're from a different country and they don't have a very good education, like Shane said, they should still be able to, like, get paid equally, even if they're, like, working as hard as they can.
So I was studying this poll of a gender workplace sexism. It says 61% of women believe they have less opportunities than men job-wise, according to the Huffington Post. Why do you think that, not even if they're getting paid less, but they just don't have as much opportunities, why do you think that the owners think that's okay?
Maybe because they didn't realize that maybe they're born, like, with that, like, in their life of hating, like, women or men or different races.
Yeah, like, maybe they grew up, like, thinking that because their parents were kind of thinking that as well.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the time whenever you're born into a family of beliefs like that, you will come out with beliefs like that. And how do you think we can, like, go against that? Because if your grandfather was super racist, then you may be racist. How do you think we could counteract that?
Maybe, like, bring them into a world where there is, like, if they don't like women, like, bring them into a world where there's a lot of women and they have to get used to that.
But do you think that'd be easy to enforce?
Not necessarily, but, like, if they're kind of young, you can start with that.
Also, there has been a rise in homelessness recently, since there has been a lot of racism and sexism recently, as we have seen in the news. How do you think we'd be able to put down homelessness just based off of, like, sexism and racism?
Give everyone an equal, like, amount of money paid on certain jobs that they do.
Yeah, so, like, if they were in a different department that works harder, like, they would probably get paid more than a lower department that they also work equally as hard, but they're not, like, that sophisticated. So, like, the department that's higher would get paid more, and then the department that's, like, down here would be, like, okay-ish money.
But that's the thing. If you are paid exactly the same, then the people in the more working, harder topics would be like, hey, I'm working harder than them. I come here 13 hours a day and they are only here 5 hours a day. Why are they getting paid as much as I am? I should have been paid more because I'm working harder than they are. Like, hey, what's the deal?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that'd be a little bit too utopian. And if everyone was paid equally, there would be no homelessness, but there would also be more hate, and there would just probably be more non-peaceful protest. And people would be like, oh, I'm working harder, like you said, I should be making more. That's just stupid that they're making the same amount. In government jobs, it is highly illegal to do workplace sexism, to not let them get jobs. why do you think that's only government and not just big companies? Like, for example, food companies, fast food. Why don't you think that, like, that's already part of companies like that?
Because in the government, almost not everyone, but many people in the government who are open to the press are always talking, are always being interviewed. If they are not, if women have less people in the government, other countries and even our country would be like, hey, where's all the women? Why is it all men? Why is it all white men? And we did that hundreds of years ago. We shouldn't be doing it now.
I've recently seen a lot of signs in some areas saying that we will not hire people who were past cops, past military. Do you consider that part of the wage gap?
Kinda, because it's not really equal for everyone.
Because, like, even if it doesn't have to do with racism or sexism, they're still not letting people of different jobs join their job, which is still gapping a wage. I honestly don't know why we haven't been enforcing the Equal Pay Act. I think, like Shane said, we should just rewrite it to make it, if you do cause a wage gap, not even just for gender, if you do cause a wage gap for pretty much anything, you should be, like, fired from the company or something.
But what if you're, like, the company owner? Would you, like, how about, instead of, like, getting fired from the company, they would, like, have to be prosecuted for a little time?
What are your thoughts on this, Anna?
I just think it's really unfair that it's so unequal, and everyone say equal rights and all these things, but with this wage gap, it can't be equal.
Because did you know that women are almost and a little bit more than half of our workforce, and are usually the sole breadwinner, or of course a co-breadwinner. And as a fellow student said earlier, some of the time women are divorced, they have the kids, and the fathers have the best jobs and don't see the kids, don't help out with the kids. I think it's just dumb. I mean, it's so sexist that the world would be a better place if there was no sexism.
Well, it seems like a lot of people are thinking men are the strong ones, men can do the heavy work, and that just doesn't make a lot of sense. As you can see, there's many women in the military, first take that into part. And I don't think just because there's different chromosomes or there's different just genders that anyone should be created less or not be created equal. And I just don't see why we still think that men are the better ones.
Yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying there, because everybody thinks that men can do, like, everything when women can do so little because they don't have the strength. But in reality, the women, they have the mentality to do lots of things, when men, they just have the strength to do them. So, like, if you combine them equally, then it would just, like, be completely equal.
Well, thank you for watching the Wage Gap panel, and please donate down below. That goes to scholarships and transportation for buses, and we will be back in about 5 minutes. Well, thank you for watching the Wage Gap panel, and please donate down below. That goes to scholarships and transportation for buses, and we will be back in about 5 minutes. Well, thank you for watching the Wage Gap panel, and please donate down below. That goes to scholarships and transportation for buses, and we will be back in about 5 minutes.